not able to attend tonight, so we'll need a motion for somebody to run the meeting.
I make a motion for Mr. Mueller to run the meeting.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Roll call, Janine Bell-Smith,
Yes.
Mark Wurtenberger.
Present.
This is,
Yes.
yeah, okay. Carol McGowan,
Yes.
Bob Mueller,
Abstain.
if you want to move here. Don Kylie,
Yes.
Jeff Smith.
Why not?
Mr. Mueller would like to vote no.
Councilman Mueller will run the meeting. You want to sit there, or you want to sit over here?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want to do. You want to sit over there?
There you go. Right here. What a sad state of affairs.
Where did anybody?
Okay. So we're just past 6 o'clock. So we call to order the meeting, Caucus meeting of March 9th, 2026 for the city of Crescent Springs. You do pledge and pray?
No.
Okay. First agenda item is the mayor's report.
The mayor, since he was not able to be here tonight, I believe he sent an email around, but he wanted someone to read it, so I will read the email that he sent. Hello all. I have had something urgent come up and I may not be able to make it to the meeting tonight. If I don't, you will need to select a meeting leader. Councilmember Mueller has done it in the past and I would recommend him. I want to address the fire authority issue that has been brought up. First, I want to thank Mr. Flaherty, included in this email, for bringing this issue to our attention. The fire chief has discussed staffing levels in many conversations. However, if those changes are not officially documented and approved, they don't exist in a formal sense. Per our agreement with the fire authority and according to our ordinance, the staffing change must be formally approved. I believe we can incorporate that approval into the ordinance currently under consideration. It is also worth noting that the language adopted by Crescent Springs differs slightly from the language used by Villa Hills when they approved their staffing authorization. Villa Hills Resolution 2023-9 includes additional language stating that while 8 full-time staff members were authorized, additional full-time staff could be authorized in future years as a part of the regular budget process. Crescent Springs Municipal Order 2024-5 authorizes up to 8 full-time firefighters, but does not include the similar language regarding future staffing increases through the budget process. Because the language adopted by the two cities is not identical, there appears to have been some potential for differing interpretations regarding how additional full-time staffing could be approved. I have not heard anyone argue against the need for our current fire department staffing levels. Instead, the concerns raised focus on the rising expenses, which is valid. Volunteerism is falling across nearly every sector, including the fire service. The days of young adults stepping forward to volunteer in the fire department are fading, especially when they see starting salaries exceeding $70,000 for the same work. Our task now is to fill the immediate financial gap while developing a long-term funding strategy. Potential solutions might include increasing the insurance premium tax, adjusting the franchise tax on Duke Energy bills, or exploring other funding mechanisms we haven't yet considered. If we fail to approve this funding measure at the next council meeting, we risk losing service levels. I do not believe anyone here wants to see that happen. The mayor says he will be working with the finance committee to come up with viable options as we work to solve the long-term issue. Thank you for your attention to this matter and your continued service to the city. Mike Darby, Mayor.
Can I make one comment regarding that, his email? In his email, he said that the verbiage in there was not the same, but it actually is at the very bottom. It does say in our ordinance 2026-3, it says additional full-time staff may be authorized in future years as part of the regular budget process. So it is the same as Bill Hill's. Theirs does read that way. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Our order says.
I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, if you want to look at it, it's right here.
I missed it.
Right there.
He's right. I missed it
Where is
completely. It's at the very
Very
end
end,
where it
very
says
end.
now, right before you say you're adopting it.
It says, now therefore be it ordained by the mayor, city council, city of Crescent Springs, that the Crescentville Fire Authority is hereby authorized to hire 8 full-time staff members. I actually read this the last meeting. And it says additional full-time staff may be authorized in future years as part of the regular budget process adopted the 22nd day of January 2024.
So they are identical.
They should be. I don't know why they wouldn't be. I mean,
Well, we didn't either. We had no idea.
You may want to look at the official signed version just to
Yeah,
confirm, but
yeah, I'll look at the official one and see if that's,
I think that
Yes,
last,
thanks.
that last sentence was struck by Bill Schultz and the council voted on that.
it was.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I mean, that's my understanding.
So the signed version would, in your view, lack that line?
In my understanding, Bill Schultz made a motion at that council meeting to strike the last sentence. And it was voted on 4-2. Brian Barclay, Karen McGowan voted no. The other 4 council people voted yes.
that was to keep the verbiage in or take it out.
It was to strike the last sentence.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure what that last sentence was, but I am going to guess that it relates to the budget approving additional.
Well, that would be the last sentence, correct?
Yeah, I think that's the case, but you all are gonna have to read that to make sure it's accurate.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at what was sent to me.
Thank you.
More homework to do. Anything else from the mayor?
no, that's all.
Thank you. The city administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. I have 3 items to discuss, and the first one is the Norman Street project. The field work is 95% complete. We are waiting for the gas facilities to be located. Greg Sketch will begin design work by the end of the week, and bid documents should be completed by the end of the month. Again, this is adding curb and gutter along the south side of Norman, along with a street resurface. Second thing, the city building roof replacement. Staff is working on a request for proposals, RFP. We're trying to get a number of what it's going to be so we can obviously enter that figure into our FY 26-27 budget. And lastly, that time of the year again, budget process for 26-27. Just some small reminders. The budget draft will go to the Finance Committee at the May meeting. Finance Committee will review and make any final recommendations or changes. The first reading of ordinance occurs usually at, and I got it missed out of there, the May council meeting. And then the second reading takes place at the June council meeting. And as we all know, we must pass the ordinance by June 30th or the prior year budget rolls over. So this is a good time for anybody on council if you have any ideas or any initiatives that you would like to discuss and potentially add into this upcoming budget. It's a good time to actually do that. And lastly, in front of you, I put out some information that pertains to the 3 discussions tonight regarding ordinance 2026-2 and 2026-3. And then the last thing, the discussion of the grant initiative that was presented by Councilmember Jeff Smith. I just put it out there, just these are some notes and facts that have been mentioned in the past, at least for the 2 ordinances. As far as the grant initiative, there's an email there you'll see from the Kentucky League of Cities. That's all I have, unless there's any other questions about this report or anything else city topic-wise.
I have a question about Short Amsterdam. What's the schedule on having that repaved and signage and striping?
Nothing's changed from our last meeting that we had and what I told you.
And that was, repeat to me, please, for the record.
The contractor will get back to work in April. Obviously, from there, they will put us on their list, along with all the other projects they may have in greater Cincinnati and northern Kentucky. So I can't really give you a date.
Well, originally, you was told me it would be April.
That's
So
what we're hoping for.
Are we looking,
Yes.
well, I don't want to hope, I want to know.
Well, I can't give you a clear-cut, black and white answer. Sorry.
Because that
You're
was-
not going to get that from me.
That's the same issue that we had last year about the Short Amsterdam, and it is turning into gravel. There are some spots that are really in need of being attended to, and it needs to be restriped. It's been restriped for 4 years, and it's basically deteriorating.
Well, the positive thing, Janine, is that it's in the books and it will get done.
Well, being in the books isn't basically on the record of what it's going to be.
Yes, I can't give you a day.
All right, I will put that down on my notes.
But if I do get a day, I will definitely share it with the
I
council
would
members.
greatly
and the
appreciate
mayor.
that.
Yeah, for now,
So
we'll
will all
have
the
a
people that
mayor.
live back there?
Mhm.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, we're good.
Anything else, Mike?
That's all I have, sir.
Under old business, we have discussion of ordinance 2026-2, varying traffic pattern in the Old Crescent Spring Historic Area. Any further discussion of
Yeah, I'd like to bring up a couple points, or just a couple questions, actually. I actually brought this up at the last meeting. I'm just curious why there wasn't any questions regarding one-ways on the survey. Because I know, a lot of the streets over there are going to be changed to one-way. But am I wrong? Was there a question not on that survey regarding that? One-way streets?
Well, with the map that we would send out with all of our letters, it would show what the direction of trail was gonna be. And obviously, by having the open houses that we did and also doing the survey, we were basically trying to get feedback from everybody on their thoughts on what they thought of the possible changes. And there's really not a ton of major changes as far as one-way go that is really big for the area, because there's still a lot of two-ways. So, I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, I understand. The reason I'm asking is, like I said, the only people that responded, it was 10 people that responded regarding the comments, and 9 of them did not want the one-way, and 1 did. So, like I said, I was just curious as to why, it's like I said, that question wasn't on there, and there were.
And I believe that was the focus of the survey when we sent it out. We were concerned about getting information on the water damage.
Sure.
And that part of it.
But I know.
It was.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think the two-way was really,
And honestly, we were looking for feedback. We figured, I'm gonna guess that if someone was not a fan of a certain one way that was gonna happen in their area, I think they would have told us. But
Okay, so through the meetings then, was most people in favor of the one-ways then?
not everybody.
Okay.
Not everybody. I'm sure if you ask some people back there that they're not in favor of it.
Sure.
I've heard where it's been like this for how many decades, why now?
Right.
Um,
And that's kind of my question as well. I mean, why not leave well enough alone, but.
If it's one way, isn't it true, and correct me if it's not, that the street does not have to be as wide for city standards? Is there a difference with that?
If it's one way, it allows us, the engineer, for his design, and then eventually, if it does happen, for the contractor to be able to have a little more area to work with. Because once again, this is just getting into the drainage improvements. That's our biggest thing, and that's the biggest thing of the ask for, you know, the certain one-ways and the existing right-of-way. So that's the main reason, is because of the issues that we have with the roadway that's been in place for decades, and there is no drainage system in place at all. We use makeshift
I have a list.
curbs that we put up for our residents in front of their driveway, and
I have,
honestly, that time has passed. I mean, the rains we're having and the water that accumulates in these areas is a lot. And some of the projects we've done recently, we're definitely trying to do it the right way, where drainage systems are installed for the project itself.
I have a list of 10 or 11 temporary curbs that were placed by the city, which are just blacktop and tar. And if those erode, is it actually the responsibility of the city to put more curbs in for them?
I would think so.
It's my understanding those curbs were to help prevent flooding in their
I mean,
garages,
because
basements.
Because the city has taken that action, you know, already for our residents, we definitely want to work with our residents, because we definitely don't want their basements to flood. So yes, we would continue to assist in that manner if we need to. I mean, Norman is a prime example. They have flooding issues on that south side. And Public Works Director and Connie Miller and her team, they put up those makeshift temporary curbs, and it works sometimes, but obviously sometimes it doesn't, depending on the amount of rain that we have. And as we all know, the rains have changed. It's a lot more. It's not like it was many, many years back. So in this case, Norman is kind of the same thing, and we'll be putting in, obviously, curbs and gutters. And honestly, for Old Crescent Springs, that's the key too, is the curbing, because it guides the water to the actual storm sewer.
And of these surveys that were sent out, do you have an approximate number, how many were sent out?
April, you had that number.
There were a little over 100.
Okay, thank you.
Sent out.
Right.
And replied was about,
I think there were around 27, around 30 that replied, which when we worked out the percentages, that's a greater percentage than average for response.
for a survey, that is.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure, and I'm not arguing about the project, the infrastructure and everything over there for stormwater. I've been over there about 3 times in the last month, and you know, you got some problem areas over there, specifically over on Enid, where it takes that 90-degree turn. You know, it definitely needs widening there. You know, you got everybody and their brother over there running into that curve, that side of that hill. Gibson and Watkins, I see some issues there. Euclid at the turn near Watkins, there's issues there, and that open storm drain on Burn. But I don't want to go on, but definitely there's some storm drain issues over there. There's like there's a lot of storm drains that are in place that they can tap into, it looks like, which is great. But my only concern is, like I said, was the one-way streets. Like I said, I went over every one of the surveys, and like I said, the main thing was in the comment section. I did notice there was about 9 of them that did want it and 1 that did, so that was my main concern. And then the mailboxes, that was a unanimous negative.
Yeah, we're working on that community mailbox idea. I don't think residents, especially when they're used to something that's been in place for 40 years, I don't think they're wanting to go in that direction.
Especially the elderly, they don't want to have to trek over to a multiple mailbox, you know, nobody wants to mail convenience.
At least in that area where they live. Yes.
And that's about all I think I had.
I appreciate you looking over everything.
Yeah.
Being thorough like you are.
And then the parking, like I said, 25 people out of 26 said they liked it. There were issues with it, 1 said they had an issue. So, you know, that was kind of unanimous too, that the parking issue wasn't a problem, but for one there was. But, just wanted to throw that out there.
As if this project progresses, I think one of the keys is, and I've mentioned this to staff and our city engineers, we may want to do another open house with our residents back there, just to educate on, you know, what right of way is. Because I think sometimes there's a lot of confusion on who owns what right of way, and sometimes there's more right of way that the city actually owns than I think sometimes residents realize and understand.
So as far as going forward then, I guess at the next meeting we'll be voting on, I guess, designating the traffic pattern. So that will just be the one way, am I correct? Or will there be other things that entails?
It will be everything as you see on your map. And like I said, there's some, you know, areas that are not changing. You know what I mean? So, and obviously back on, is it Enid, that was always supposed to be one way, and
Right.
somewhere along the line, those signs were removed, and we have an ordinance in place that clearly says Enid should have been one way from a certain spot to a certain spot. But over time, you know, and through actions and driving habits, residents, became accustomed to it, and it just developed that way.
Any other discussion on that ordinance?
But that is where the ordinance actually will just be more or less designating the one ways. I mean, that's it.
No, so it makes this a map.
Official.
Yeah, this is the directions.
For the, yeah, for the
That's what it does.
For the one way.
No, but it's one, at least one ways and two ways.
But just the changing of the one way.
Well, not, I mean, I guess you look at it that way, or it's the
Yeah,
real
yeah.
of everything.
Anything else?
Thank you.
I wanted to ask if anybody had an objection, if I move the grant initiative document discussion ahead of the our authority budget, because I think we might be able to get through that a little quicker. Okay, everybody all right with that?
April? And first of all, we do appreciate you coming up with this idea, because there was a lot of positive ideas in your thought process. But obviously staff has to take it and run it through and see if it's, you know, if it's doable and legit according to HR standards here in Kentucky. And I'll let April finish that up.
We did some extensive research on what we are and aren't permitted to do, and the biggest problem is that the Kentucky Constitution does not allow for bonuses. And the way this program is written, it would be considered bonuses. We talked to the attorneys down at Kentucky League of Cities, and that was their biggest issue. So because of that, it's not something we can proceed with.
You said just because it's bonuses, would there be any other type of bonus that we could do other than monetarily, or, you know?
No, because, let's see, what are the other, well, monetarily, pension is an issue as well. If we took it, and we could talk about taking it in a different direction, but the way it's set up with a monetary, you know, incentive, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay, well, we can further discuss it on down the road, you know, if need be. But if we have an incentive for not only the employees, but for the city as well. So, you know, if we can make it work, we'll do it. If not, throw it out the back.
Something else we did was we ran through April and Kristen's network for city clerks. And it's always a good feedback we get from the city clerk here in northern Kentucky. And I think pretty much the answer was no. And then it talked about how we all have job descriptions in place within our cities. And that within that job description, one of our duties is obviously responsibility of looking into grants and actually trying to apply for them. So, I don't know if that makes sense or
Sure.
but it is a good idea.
Yeah, well, we can kick that can down the road and look at that. Appreciate y'all looking into it, but thank you.
For the benefit of folks who may not know, Jeff came forward with an idea that said, hey, if any city employees, department head, I guess, before saying, found grant money that helped the city save money or spend more efficiently, was there a way to reward them with some sort of financial incentive? Maybe it was at least the first crack at it.
Correct.
And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. That's a great idea. I mean, I'm all about employee recognition. So yes, let's not forget the idea. Let's find a way to do it.
Sure enough. Appreciate it, thank you.
Thanks for letting me move that. Okay. Discussion ordinance 2026-3, amending the annual budget for the Crescentville Fire Authority. Mike, I think you had some information you provided.
I just put some basic information in there for everybody. Obviously, I think there's some other questions that arise, during the process.
Well, no, go ahead, I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something, Mike? No. It felt like, certainly from the mayor's message and the discussion we've kind of had, it feels like we're looking at a short-term situation and then a longer-term situation. And Mike Mayor kind of captured it well by saying, hey, in the short term, it's about the funding. And, we can discuss that, debate that, and decide how folks feel about it one way or the other. And then, I think there's also unanimous agreement that it's like, and then tomorrow, we have to look beyond today and figure out how do we fix this going forward. And what all, do we put on the table to do that? So, having said that, is it helpful if we kind of focus on the short-term request, which I think you've captured here, Mike? Correct. And then can you kind of take us through that?
I just listed the facts that has been mentioned in the past by Chief Wentz. The biggest reason for this additional funding that we're looking at here for the $300,000 is the 13.6% increase in calls for service year over year, the rising operational and maintenance costs, the staffing overtime needs, and the delayed delivery of prior year equipment. And I think these messages have been passed on by Chief Wynn quite a few times over the last, I would say at least the last 6 months. Basically, the ask is for $300,000, obviously 120 from Crescent Springs and 180 from Billet Hills to try to address these impacts that I mentioned.
We had a first reading and there'll be a second reading later this month as things stand right now. One of the things that Mike said in his email was potentially trying to remedy the staffing uncertainty by bolting it on to the ordinance to amend the budget. And instinctively, that feels a little clunky since we've already had a first reading. That's a council term, clunky. Yeah. So, any thoughts on that?
I think the inclusion of the additional language would be not a lot of language, but to have it make certain that it includes the ratification of those hires. I had expressed to the mayor in an email earlier today before I got bogged down. I apologize to everyone for being late. But if he was more comfortable, we could do another first reading, have a special meeting and do it, and then have a second reading at the regular meeting in March. And that's not a decision that he and I have reached in any kind of consensus on. We're passing minutes back and forth. And I don't know if council would be available for a special meeting just for that reading. in the next 2 weeks. That's, we haven't gotten that far, in other words.
Well, not to, and sort of like not muddying the short term with the long term on funding and operation of the fire department, or fire department. It may not be fair to council to put those two together, because you may have feelings, or we may have feelings to the council about the immediate requests, and only that, and to lump in any other discussion about, are we okay with how the staffing went down and the amending of ordinance to reflect the additional staff? And would you prefer to have that as a totally separate discussion with a separate amendment of some sort?
I think it would be best separating it, but that's up to the council.
Well, I mean, you're
I'd be in agreement with that. Maybe we need to separate it.
I think one of the things that we would need to take care of is the hiring of full-time people that Bill Hills says we're allowed to do it, and if it was struck from our original ordinance, is taking care of that now, because those people are on board now. And I think we need to take care of covering that first, along, I shouldn't say first, but along with the amount of money that they're asking for, and then separate out future, how we're gonna do it.
So if we could do one, we have an amendment or an ordinance to amend the fire budget to cover the requested shortfall. You're saying if we would have an equal amendment or whatever to address the current staffing that's in place, and we would do both of those at the
However,
next
it would
council
work out
meeting?
best legally. But I think we need to take care of the extra employees that Crescent Springs ordinance may not have it written in for,
Okay.
like Villa Hills has it.
You
I
see what I'm
think we
saying?
need to take care of that. And what is urgently needed now. How we're gonna handle funding in the future can be later,
Yeah.
amended budget, but later. That's not today. Today is correcting somehow our ordinance to have it be the same, or to somehow cover the 3 employees, and the urgent need for the money now.
Short-term budget, current staffing. And-
What if
and
we
what-
kept the original order that we've already done first reading on, and then did a municipal order to cover 3 additional hires? Then you could discuss going forward how that would be handled. I looked up the minutes from the municipal order that you read off, and Bill Schultz did strike that from that ordinance, and it was voted on. So the municipal orders do differ because of that. And after all that conversation, I do remember him saying they need to come back to us if they want to
Okay.
hire additional people.
But if I'm not mistaken, and the chief can answer, don't you have 1 or 2 or 3 in the pipe stream now?
We do. And actually, we're down to 10 now because one resigned, well, one took a position in Lawrenceburg Fire Department due to the uncertainty here. So now we're down to 10.
And if they've got some in the pipe stream and a full-time person is cheaper than part-time, I don't know if I personally would not limit it to 3.
Would anybody object though if at the March 23rd council meeting, we have the second reading of ordinance 2026 to amend the budget on the agenda to cover the shortfall in funding, and at the same time, either have first reading or with a special meeting between now and then, the second reading of some legal action to correct what Carol's talking about, to get us copacetic in terms of staffing, current as well as anybody that's in the pipeline.
Are you wanting the order to match what Villa Hills initially did when we struck the sentence?
I think that's up to this group.
I
We
think
should, I
that's what
think
we
that all,
need to know.
both cities need to be in line. I mean, there shouldn't be nowhere a fraction from either way.
We just need to know what to write up, so if that's what you all would like, then Mr. Baker can draft it.
Does anybody object to it reading the same? I think it makes sense, but,
Yeah, they should be the same.
yeah, same.
So can we add a municipal order then to match what?
I'm assuming, and Chief, I'm going to ask you, and I don't want to put you on the spot.
Sure.
The funding request that is part of what we've already drafted includes the compensation for those individuals, correct?
It does.
Okay.
That just gets us through to the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. I think we could do that by minutes forward. I'm not concerned about funding being done by minutes forward.
And if that says that future staffing can be proposed in future budgets,
Correct.
will be covered going forward in that. Okay. I think in putting on the agenda, certainly the mayor, and I think all of us on council, wanted to give folks the opportunity to talk about the budget request for this fiscal right now, the $120,000 for Crescent Spring. So anybody have anything they want to?
Well, I'd kind of like to ask also regarding that 2024-5 ordinance. Was there an infraction of city policy for noncompliance of that order?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I follow your question, sir.
Was there an infraction by the fire department or the fire authority, whoever did the hiring of that or of that municipal order? Was there an infraction of that order by not coming back to council and just hiring? The reason I'm asking, I mean, we have ordinances for a reason.
Yes.
And if anybody can just violate it, I mean, why are we writing ordinances? So my question is, once
That's a
again,
discussion
was
that's
there
being
an
held at a national level. I think I'm not sure if I would agree necessarily with the term infraction. That carries, to me, which maybe it's just me, something that may have intent. Could it have been done better? That answer is yes. And because it wasn't done better, for whatever reason, and I think it's a matter of some misunderstanding between the two cities, as April has pointed out, and it could be other reasons. Can we ratify what's been done? That answer is also yes, and that's what this really intends to do. In part, there's more than just these additional employees as part of this budget, supplemental budget request. There's a lot of things that have happened that the chief has explained previously. You know, your concern that you raise is valid. You know, that this should be a warning flag, whatever, however you want to term it. These budget issues need to be addressed up front. Yes, they should be. Unfortunately, we're not perfect. We make, you know, there are mistakes made, and I think that's what this is. So we need to fix the mistake. If we don't fix the mistake, it seems to me that there's a very real chance that the level of service will not be what you want it to be. Maybe that's a decision you want to make, but again, I'm not passing judgment on anyone. There's a flaw that's occurred, and we need to fix it. That's the way I view it.
And I'm looking at, you know, roughly $250,000 flaw in that. So
Well,
that's
I think
my,
it's more than, again, I think it's more than that.
Probably is.
And I could be corrected, there's people here to correct me. Their operational costs, other than these additional employees, have obviously increased because their service costs have gone up. Their equipment needs to be repaired and serviced more often, and we can have a discussion about the merits of that. But I would not construe this as strictly an invalid assumption or a mistaken assumption that this is all about just these additional employees. I don't think it's that at all. Again, I can be corrected on that, but that's the impression I think. I mean, your point is well taken. I'm not trying to, you know, there needs to be a better line of communication. I agree with that. Sure.
well, like I said, I was kind of left in the dark, and I don't know how many of the council members and or the mayor was left in the dark on this 3 extra hirings, but I definitely was, and I'm not appreciative of that. Like I said, you know, if anybody can just go out and violate a municipal order, or I don't know if that's the right word, but, you know, infract a municipal order or a ordinance or whatever it might be, I mean, you know, what are we here for? That's my question.
I think there's potential consequences to that, Jeff.
Can I say something on this? Because until a few minutes ago, you didn't even know what your own ordinance was. So how
I knew it
was the
was.
fire authority, the fire department, and Villa Hill's supposed to know what your ordinance is if you don't even know what it is?
I knew what it was, how are you saying I didn't know what it was? I read it to you.
You read it, nobody on this board knew that that last line was struck until April went through the minutes.
Exactly.
So how is the fire department, Villa Hills, and the fire authority supposed to know what you passed if you don't even know what you passed?
Well, I didn't pass it, this last council did, but why wasn't we advised that 3 extra?
I've been here for 6 months telling you, you've added 15% to
That's
your,
besides the point, but the employees is what we're talking about.
okay?
Why wasn't this council advised that 3 additional employees were added to the ordinance 2024-5?
Your fire authority members were on board.
I'm sorry?
Your fire authority members were on board with it.
Well, the councils are the ones that make the decision. That's, the fire authority board, to me, they just ask for money.
By
We,
them-
the council, we are the ones that say, yeah, you can have it, or no, you can't. I mean, am I wrong? Is that the way this works?
He didn't have to ask for additional funds for the 3 employees. The full-time 3 employees saved money from the overtime pile. So they didn't have to ask for more money. Most of the money they're asking for now is unexpected overtime, a pumper, and all of the things that Mr. Daly has listed. The increase in service, the increase of phones that are being added to the service routes, and the competition from other cities as far as what they're getting paid.
That's across the board, and police, public works, and everything. I keep hearing that brought up. That's everybody.
But if we don't give them more money, they're gonna leave. He's already lost
Well,
one.
that happens in public works, that happens in policing,
But
that
it's
happens in everything.
safety, it's people's lives.
I understand that.
Acts in the road.
I understand
So Carol, let me make sure I understood what you said, and I think what you're saying is correct. If we gave the fire department $100, I guess in this budget, you're saying that the chief and his leadership team saw the opportunity to hire full-time using that same $100, cheaper than paying out a bunch of part-time money,
Yes, and overtime,
you know.
and overtime.
So it wasn't during this fiscal year until now.
The
Any
last few
request?
months of overtime have been awful. Am I correct?
You're correct.
that. But why was this body not advised? I mean, were you aware of the 3?
I just got on the fire committee in January.
But you weren't aware of the 3 hires? I'm just curious.
I've been aware of it all this year.
Okay,
They were
well,
hired before this year.
why was this body not advised on it? That's
Did
just blows
you
my
hear
mind.
what I
I
said?
have, I've heard everything you said. I've heard
When were
everything
they
you said.
hired, chief?
That's besides the point. The overtime stuff
Yeah.
is besides the point. It's beside, what I'm
I
talking about.
couldn't advise you. I wasn't on the fire authority when they were hired.
I'm not talking about necessarily you. I'm just asking if you knew about it. But what I'm saying is, why was we not advised? I mean, was even Bill Hills advised?
Like
I'm not
our,
asking you, I'm just asking, you
like
know,
the
whoever.
attorney says, my answer would be, it was a mistake. He could have been reading, like we
Huge
usually
mistake.
have, the same ordinances when it comes to our police and fire, and he could have been looking at the one from Villa Hills with the assumption it's the same. Because in the past, it has always been the same. We, as a council, did not rectify it at the time Bill Schultz and 4 of them voted against the last statement. That's what we need to correct.
Well, then, if it's not in our ordinance, that it's in Villa Hills, then they still violated it, the way I see it.
Villa Hills did not violate it.
No, they violated Villa Hills ordinance.
Hey Jeff, let me see if this sounds any different. When I read
I'm
what,
assuming they violated that ordinance. I don't
They
know,
did.
I'm just saying. Go, I'm
They
sorry.
added 3
No, you're right.
budget.
if I'm,
They did
If
or
I'm-
did not?
They did.
They did.
if I'm reading the mayor's email correctly, I think he was saying it's additional full-time staff could be authorized. And that's our real contention here is, I think you're reading it or seeing what has happened is the chief hired additional people.
Without authorization.
Right.
And I think what Carol is pointing out is, these were not additional people, they were full-time in lieu of part-time.
I'm not buying it.
That's not true.
I'm not buying it.
I'm just,
I think there was 8 people that they said that they could hire, and then they went above and beyond and hired 3 more. That's the way I see it. I mean,
Yes,
don't know if- don't
I
see it
agree
any
with
other way.
that. I agree with that, because I have my notes down, that 2024-5, 8 positions were approved in the adopted budget by council. 3 additional firefighters were hired. But the issue was that council had not approved those additional 3 firefighters, whatever way you want to use it, whether they were full-time people being used for part-time. That did not happen at that council meeting, and it needs to be rectified and made whole and right again. And I have to understand exactly, go along with what Jeff is addressing. It was not approved by council, and that we have that legislative power behind us for the people. We are here and we speak as voices for our people. I'm not here speaking for myself, I'm here speaking for the people that put my name and check mark and put me on council. So we need to make sure that we follow the rules and regulations. That when we have a council meeting, and if it says that only 8 were approved and then 3 were hired, that can never happen again.
but if, as I told you before, if the fire department got the $100
I heard that
in their
part.
budget, and they had this many full-time and this many part-time, and they didn't spend any more money, but instead of having 12 part-time, they now had 8, and they went from 5 full-time to 7, but never spent over the $100, is that additional staff?
So you're talking about the cost of it, but I think what I'm reading here is that 3 additional firefighters were hired. That is not true.
I don't know that they were additional, they were in lieu of part-time
Well,
staff.
I have my notes.
That is not, that's incorrect. There's 3 additional people. Period.
We hired, how many this week? 4 this week, part-time. Because the ratio part-time to full-time changes, or not the ratio, but the amount of staffing we have to keep it at 7. We can't keep up with the demand of the calls. So we have to continue to hire part-time. And it makes more sense that when we're paying for paramedics to go to school, that we bring them on full-time. And that's all we've done.
And I don't dismiss what the folks have pointed out here, that like, in those conversations, many of which you have with us, I don't know that I could point to one that says, yes, I'm hiring 3 more guys today. But I think, so that I think is a walk away. It's like, okay, look, if I'm gonna convert from 10 part-time, from 5 full-time to 7 and get rid of some part-time, yeah, I think that'd be great to know. But I think if we're looking at the budget request before us, you know, that's what I want to try to focus us on is, you know, we're going to have a second reading in 2 weeks. And I just want folks to have the opportunity to say what, you know, they want to say about that.
And is that extra money, that 120,000, is that to fund these 3 additional employees? I'm assuming.
They are part of the current operating model. It is to continue the current operating model is what this money is for. To get us through 6/30 plus a couple of weeks in July for some bigger payments due in the first half.
But were those 3 additional employees the reason we need that 120,000?
They're not the only reason, no.
No, it's
Right, right.
an alphabet
I see
soup.
this bullets here that's saying why, but 3 additional employees aren't cheap.
Cheaper than several part-timers.
Well, I don't know, you know, are they warranted, are they needed? That's another question. I mean, you know, I got a lot of questions about, this is huge money. This ain't a couple $100,000 here or a couple thousand here or there. This is huge. I mean, they just built a firehouse that was initially $4 million, overnight turned to $8 million, more or less.
During COVID, it turned up to that.
Well, let me ask you this, if you were to build a house during COVID, and your builder said this is going to cost $250,000, and then he came back a month later and said $500,000 today, what would you do? Would you continue or would you hold off?
Depends how bad I want the house.
Exactly. But what would you really do? I think I would hold off.
I That's what you would do.
You count.
The call increase year-over-year is up 13%.
I see
Shouldn't
that
that,
right there. Why
shouldn't
didn't I?
that directly correlate to a 13% increase in salaries?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the public works crew, they do potholes out there. Of course, this year they're gonna be a lot more. Did they need more staff?
That's apples to oranges. This is health. This is fire.
All right, exactly. Still a city department, or,
I think a lot of it has to do with what I would call the incremental, I mean, maybe not even incremental, explosive uptake in what I can only call professionalism of firefighting and EMS. I mean, it takes indescribable amounts of training and equipment compared to what we probably are used to. And so, I mean, it feels like it's a service that is in some ways catching up and bypassing law enforcement because the equipment cost alone is astronomical. And that, to Mark's point, that's part of the alphabet soup behind this increase.
and I'm all for the fire department. Don't get me wrong one bit that I'm against the fire department. I love them. My dad was a firefighter. I was a police officer. My wife worked squad. We're all in that service together. I mean, my family's all in. So I'm all with you all. But like I said, municipal orders that are violated or, infracted, I mean, something has to be addressed here. And if we have two ordinances that are saying two different things, then somebody screwed up there. So that needs to be fixed. And like I said, it just blows my mind that, every time we turn around, here we come, fire department with their hand out wanting more money. And it's like, what's going on here? I mean, the runs are going up, okay, yeah, I understand that, but, something's got to break.
And I've been coming to you all along,
I know you
when you put more houses in Crescent Springs, and more condos, and more apartment buildings, and I've told you the population is increasing, and it's falling on deaf ears. That I'm not coming here with my hand out every meeting,
I'm not saying.
look, we're short the money. It's not that we're asking for additional money. We're short this money to make it through this year's budget. And the only way around this, if you vote it down, we have to take an ambulance and a fire truck out of service. So if you want people to call your house and say, why didn't the ambulance get out? I'll certainly share your cell number or your email. Because that's exactly what we're looking at, is cutting services.
But you're saying taking stuff out of service, I mean, so you have 2 or 3 ambulances?
We have 2 ambulances,
Okay. And
which is certainly justifiable by our ISO rating and a community our size. So the math has been done. Obviously, we were doing something right. We've got a 2 ISO rating. So I don't understand that you put more residents in the city, why it's not gonna cost more? Because you're getting more tax money from all these additional houses. Why is some of it not coming back to the fire department?
Well, and another thing I kind of look at too is, 2 years ago before you built the firehouse, it was an all-volunteer firehouse, correct? No, it was not.
We've had part-time.
Well, I knew you had part-time, but I mean, you didn't have full-time. You had part-time and mostly volunteers. That was 2 years ago. Now you have 8 full-time, well, for however many you got now, I don't know, but
10.
And umpteen, I see 53 part-time, am I correct on that? How does the fire department have 53 part-time people? That blows my mind.
Because they're never available to work part-time.
Yeah, it's a roster, if not a.
It's a roster of 53.
Again, and I've explained this, and I'll explain it one more time. Half of our people that are, more than half, that work part-time, work for another fire department. Everybody's short. So when Newport Fire Department picks up the phone and says, you gotta come to work, you're mandated for overtime today. So what do when they work for Crescent Springs? They have to call off here. So what do we have to do? We pay overtime. And this is where the full-time, part-time ratio is killing us, because paying part-timers over and over, there's some part-timers work 110 hours. And we have to do that to cover the city for the staffing. It's not because I want to pay extra people money. It's my responsibility to make sure that the city's safely covered. And that's all we're doing, is by the full-time to part-time ratio. I know I can have a full-timer there. He's totally dedicated to our department, not his full-time job. So that's where you're missing it. And what I gave to Mr. Flaherty 2 weeks ago, to staff a part-timer or a volunteer, it's roughly $25,000 a person between fire gear and everything to outfit them. So it's not just hire another part-timer and it's inexpensive. It's expensive. Fire gear is very expensive.
Well, I'm sure it is.
No, anything?
We can make,
Yeah, just curious.
my personal opinion, I think nobody's questioning the need of the fire department. I think it's more of 3 positions were added and they weren't approved. So I think we're trying to slide it into the budget now because we messed up. So that's kind of how I see it.
But in terms of the short-term budget, is that what you were talking about in the first part of your comments? You're okay with that, not okay with that?
No, I think we need to separate short term and long term.
How about the short-term versus fixing the staffing ordinance miss?
I mean, I guess I'll leave it up to the rest of the council.
And Chief, I mean, as far as your full-time staff, I mean, how do you all roll with that staff? I mean, you're on 24/7, of course.
Right.
So, I mean, do you have, how many do you have on during the day, I mean, per 8-hour shift, full-time and part-time?
7, there needs to be 7 people there 24 hours a day.
Okay.
So that's staffing 2 ambulances, and the second ambulance, when the structure fire comes in, so that's 4 for the 2 ambulances, then the other 3 go on the fire truck. When a fire comes in, the 2 come off the second ambulance, they're cross-trained to take the second engine.
Okay, but as far as full-time, you said you have 7, I'm sorry, you have 7 staff on
There's 2 full-time there a day.
2 full-time a day.
Right.
Okay.
We have what's called a Kelly Day. A Kelly Day is to avoid the overtime. So they work 24, they're off 48. And if, say Friday is your Kelly Day, you never work a Friday. That's to avoid the extra overtime. They're already getting scheduled overtime because they're working over 40 hours a week.
Donnie, I have a question to clarify for you. Did you say that we should probably think about separating the cost of the part-time funding from the full-time funding? In other words, you have 2 different accounts, one for what we pay for the part-time and one we pay for the full-time, and then see how those numbers come through? Is that what you're asking?
No, I was saying we need to separate the short and long term.
Separate them?
Yeah. Not the full-time and part-time staff. The issues.
He's saying separate the short-term financial needs and requests from a discussion about long-term, how do we structure and fund and
I'd like to see more information on that. I think that's an excellent idea to pursue. It's hard for me to hear some of the things that you've said, issues here, but perhaps with more information on it. I think it's a nice road to explore. Do you think so, Mr. Gilman? I mean, right now, we're having a great discussion. This is the best thing that ever happened in a long time. It's a good thing. We all have different opinions, but we're all agreeing to disagree and coming out with what we think we should do. I think that's a good thing. That's why we're here.
anything else you had that you wanted to share? Anything else you had that you wanted to share with us?
Well, I have to just go back to repeat about this municipal order 2425. I'd like to have a written documentation, a clarification of what happened there, posted by someone. I don't know if they both can do that or not. That's another job for you, which is all you do quite a bit. I know that. But I again have to say that we basically approved 8. And all of a sudden then, we come up with 3 more. And I do believe it's what Jeff said, that should have been voted on by the council. And it's not okay that it just fitted in somehow, some way, the slot work. That's not okay. We have to follow the rules and regulations as everyone else does. And I still think that Jeff had a very valid concern that we need to address. Let's put it down on black and white paper and let's look at it, read over it, see what we come up with.
If it makes you feel better, put it on me, because I don't know that three different entities, how can I keep up with the ordinances when you don't know your ordinances?
I think it was an honest mistake, and how can we just correct it? Instead of trying to point a finger at anybody. Some of the people that voted against it are not even on council at this point in time. One of the people that persons that voted for it is not on council at this time. I believe it was an honest mistake. The two cities' ordinances did not agree. That was a mistake there with that council, or whatever it would have taken to make sure our ordinance and Mill Hill's ordinance were the same. It didn't happen. You can't change it. It's in the past. I think at this point, we need to just rectify the ordinances, is my opinion.
I think we can change it, actually. We have that authority, but,
I'm not
No.
looking to fire anyone.
well, I ain't either, but I'm just saying, we do have that authority, to change that, mistake. And that was a huge mistake. Like I said, that wasn't just a little water under the bridge. That was $250,000 mistake.
Now you say that, but
Well, I
that
do say
wasn't.
it because I know it's at least that. And,
Wait, you're saying that our expenses are $250,000 higher?
those 3 employees would cost at least $250,000 to put up.
But it was just repurposed funds, it wasn't,
Like,
it was repurposed.
I don't know.
What? What? Just explain. If you
Yeah, we'll repurpose it. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Between
Yeah.
part-time and
But
full-time.
regardless, it still comes down to the ordinance. I mean, I don't know, you're trying to make excuses about this repurposing money and bringing in this 120,000. That's to pay for the 3 people that.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
There were so many other things that.
Well, I see that right here. I know that.
But
But
then
I
why
think
don't you
we
acknowledge
got
it?
a bumper.
You're not acknowledging it, those things are all factored into it.
180,000.
We got a pumper that we owe 180,000 on, that's not even listed here. And that's in there, if I'm not mistaken.
What's that?
A pumper where we still owe, the two cities owe 180,000 on pumper.
Should have been
That doesn't have
budgeted.
anything to do with those 3 employees.
But
It's
shouldn't that have been budgeted in the past?
It is in the budget.
That's what I thought.
It's in the budget.
Yeah, so that's already paid for, correct?
No,
It's in the
No, it's
fire
not paid
budget.
for. It's a balloon payment that was due after 10 years.
Can we kind of hold down
But
on
that
this?
should have been budgeted,
It's in the
correct?
budget. You should hear it.
Mark, anything?
Well, let me ask you one more thing, Chief, real quick, and I'll shut up. As far as future employees, what's your outlook as far as what are you gonna need next year and or 2 years out?
The minimum is 7 people. So
Per-
whatever it takes to get 7 people there, full-time, part-time. If we lost all our part-time people tomorrow, I'm gonna have to come back to you and say, I need more full-time employees.
So you're saying 7 per shift?
7 per shift.
So
7 per
21, you need 21 full-time employees.
No, 28, because we have 4 shifts. But remember I explained about the Kelly Day?
28 full-time employees.
That does not include a chief, a fire inspector, assistant chiefs. That's just firefighter paramedics.
but it's my understanding you're not asking for that right now.
No.
No,
That's why it was written in Villa Hills ordinance that in the future, we're gonna need more.
Just for clarification.
Good. Anything else on the fire authority or fire department budget amendment? Jeff?
I do, I mean, it just overwhelms me that, the costs that are going on here. I don't know if it's a management thing or what, but, just don't seem like, things are working out. But I'll leave it at that. I mean, we have 11 full-time people now, you said?
10, one quit because of,
But you will be hiring another?
yes.
How many do you have in the pipeline that you'll be able to hire when they get out of school?
3.
And ideally, you'd like to hire them so you don't lose them?
Well, sure, when they're done with school, when we pay for their paramedic school, then we'd like to hire them full-time.
And then you said more or less too that when they go through the schooling, it's whatever the cost is, that you'll prorate that if they do leave earlier?
If they leave early, they have to pay us. They've signed a contract and worked X amount of years with us.
This last guy that left, did he have to do that?
No, he was already
He was
permanent.
already- Gotcha.
Well, I guess age helps in some cases. I mean, this has been a 30-year discussion, probably.
At least.
You know, and I think we have an extremely good fire and EMS structure, organization, whatever you want to call it, serving the two communities. That's done things historically at a great cost, or lack of cost. But in many ways, you know, I think the professionalism of the profession, the equipment, the competitiveness of pay, or lack of it in some cases, are many times things beyond any chief's control. I would say if this got away from two people as qualified as Jeff and Jim Cahill and probably Sue, we should be thankful we have them. Because if they weren't as good as they are, this would be much worse. But I think it also demonstrates how strongly it cries out for that other discussion, like what the heck are we going to do going forward? So if you can in your minds, I guess I would just ask, you know, separate the short-term budget request before us. It basically keeps the lights on through the lower part of July. And vote on that, act on that as your conscience dictates.
So keep in mind, Mayor Doherty did mention in his, email and letter here tonight, once the finance committee wants to task us with looking at other revenue sources. So that's something we have to do, and who knows, maybe we'll come up with something.
I feel like we will, but I think, we like with the chief and the cameras, I mean, I feel like the fire authority and fire department are deserving of an answer. Either we voted to approve this or not. I mean, and then they can go to bed at night knowing one way or the other. So please be ready to vote when we come back together.
Jeff, I want to say you and your crew do an exceptional job. Some of your guys actually, I think, saved my life probably about 8 years ago. So I appreciate that.
They did save my daughter-in-law's life. She overdosed, he knows.
She
The
did
dentist
overdose, somebody
overdosed her.
overdosed her.
Dennis overdosed her and she had to go to the emergency room.
All right, well, I
He's in
think
jail now.
we gave the word discussion a good work out there. Moving on, any new business?
Yes, April, this is kind of off the cuff. I sent that email today regarding the May council meeting is on Memorial Day. Obviously, that's going to need to be
Normally we cancel. But-
canceled, but because it's a budget cycle, we're definitely going to have to, either you do 2 meetings in June,
Is there a
which one of them
caucus,
will be a special meeting.
is there a caucus meeting in June?
No.
I think it's May.
So the options would be to have a
Special meeting.
special meeting. And the next day?
Tuesday.
On Tuesday, or
Prior to the caucus
a
meeting.
special
Or are
meeting?
you doing this, the caucus, where the caucus is scheduled in May?
Yeah, you can do it in May, or you can do it in June. Historically, the budget readings were both done in June.
You may not have everything in May. When you may, but you may be close.
Yeah, the numbers, if we had a special meeting for caucus in June, that's too soon. So,
Very true.
I would think that if you want to have a meeting the week of Memorial Day, Yeah. that you do it the next day or, sometime close to that, or we wait until the second week of June to have a first reading.
Just food for thought, council members. We wanted to bring it up, just to be thinking about it.
The mayor will change that, correct?
Yeah, so it'll be up to him to set that. And and figure that out with the council members, yes.
Any other new business? Citizen
It's not new
comment? I'm
business, but
sorry.
it's
Carol?
not new business, but I am unable to attend the next fire meeting. So I would like somebody, rather, be Sue or the chief or somebody that is on the committee to make a report if anything needs to be stated additionally over and above what the chief states. Fire meeting is next Monday.
Any other new business? One, please. All right, citizen comments. Any comments from the citizens? Kristen, no? Evening, Bob.
Good evening, Councilman Bueller. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. I have public comment. First of all, I want to thank the mayor for addressing this concern regarding hiring the additional 3 firefighters. I think it was a mistake that is being corrected. I think the council tonight looked at that and has come up with some solutions. The 3 firemen are already hired, so I don't think you want to fire them or harm them in any way. But I do want to make this public comment. At the prior meeting, it was stated that the 3 firefighter positions were included in the adopted budget. I have reviewed the final adopted budget documents, including the staffing authorizations, and I was unable to locate those 3 positions as approved line items. Now I want to make it clear to the chief and all the firemen here, I'm not questioning the firefighters or public safety. I support you guys. I asked for clarification so the public record accurately reflects what the adopted budget authorizes. It's a matter of process. If there is a specific page or amendment that authorizes these positions, I would appreciate it being identified for the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's an excellent idea. Black and white, let's get it done, let's remediate it wrong. Obviously, there's been some contentious issues about it. Let's set everybody's soul to where we're okay with everything and fix it. If it's been broken, let's fix it.
And so those conflicting ordinances, Bill Hill's and our ordinance, we're going to get that ratified?
Yes, my understanding is at the March council meeting, we will have the second reading of the budget amendment request. And in parallel, municipal order that would say we are amending our prior municipal order to mirror Bill Hill's language when it comes to additional staff.
So that's my main concern. Like I said, I'm not harping on the fire department. You guys are professionals. Love you guys. But when it comes down to municipal orders being broke, there's got to be a fine line drawn somewhere, because these are to manage the city finances and revenue, and, just can't have people coming in and saying, hey,
What is the penalty for violating municipal order?
probably nothing.
No,
Exactly.
you ratify it, I don't think anything.
There's always a penalty if nothing is done to fix it, but you don't want to go down that rabbit hole. If I could be blunt.
If we don't amend, if we don't fix the correct. Anyone else? Chief? Yes, no?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
So moved. Thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you. Support.